All right, so a lot of you guys wanted to know about the Blue Alpine, currently doing some testing. You can't test it like you do all your other machines, right? So you have to run this hour freeze, and then after we get to an hour freeze, everything like that, then we can get to the testing of the vacuum pump. So it says it's going to bring it approximately down to negative 25. It says it's 4 degrees. However, when you put your hand in here, this thing is not 4 degrees. I will say probably this drum is maybe 4 degrees or something like that, but this is still like warm to the touch. So saying that, like, it's now saying -1, saying that the chamber is -2 or whatever, like, my hands would be cold. They're not cold. My fingers are not cold. Like, I'm identifying like many issues within the Blue Alpine machine, and this is just one of them, right? Is, yes, okay, cool, we want to get the chamber down to -25 within an hour, but -5 degrees is what it says. This chamber is not -5. Maybe the sidewalls. Here's the deal though, when you look at the Stay Fresh, you look at Harvest Right, anything like that, they're not considering your chamber temperature, or they consider like a tray temperature, right? So considering we're talking about a chamber temperature would mean the whole chamber, my assumption would be. However, that's not the case with these guys. These guys are 100% considering the bottom drum, okay? That's not what your food's sitting on, nothing like that. We're considering this is not, like, it's getting maybe a tiny bit cold, but it's not cold. And it says it's -12. Like, my hand should be freezing, and it's not gonna get -12 in 8 minutes. So another just issue of what we're seeing with the Blue Alpine is this is not an accurate chamber temperature, right? So I don't know 100% what is all being said. I'm gonna have a full review of this machine. I've already looked at settings. I've talked to multiple freeze dry manufacturers and what is happening within this machine. And we'll test it. We'll do all this other stuff just like we promised we would do. There's some, what I believe, more along the lines of false advertising on how fast this machine freeze dries. And there's a big reason why this pump only survives 1-2 batches with something that is heavy with water, where you can do many batches with the Stay Fresh pumps. You can do many batches with the Harvest Right pumps. And it has to do with how they have this all set up for drying and in the settings of your machine for mTORs to make it look like this machine actually dries faster. I will do many tests to verify my assumptions, but after doing much research about freeze dryers, it says it's -19, by the way, not -19. Talking to many manufacturers of freeze dryers, talking to many manufacturers of this stuff, right? Including new ones that are getting ready to come online in the United States that people aren't even tracking yet, by industrial companies. So if you look at Harvest Right, you look at Stay Fresh, you look at new companies that are getting ready to come on, they all have mTOR settings. Like their standard one is like 400 to 700 for the drying phase. When you actually go into the Blue Alpine settings to see what their preset settings are, it's set for 1,875 mTOR. I will verify very soon, right? I'm doing a vacuum test, which their vacuum test isn't the same as every other company that we've used. I'll complete the vacuum test, make sure that this gets down to a decent vacuum, all that type of stuff. I will leave it to their I will put it down to 500 because that's what every other company has. And we will see how fast this thing actually freeze dries. We'll see how bad the oil is. We'll see all that stuff. But I'm going to see how many pounds of strawberries I can actually put in here. The trays are very small. and we'll see truly what this machine can do, how fast it can do. But we're going to compare as best as we can apples to apples, and that means this thing drying at 500 mTOR, doing a correct freeze dry, not what 1800 mTORs. When I talk to other companies, they say that is very possibly more of a dehydrating of food, not freeze drying of food, and that's why so much water is getting into the pump. So that is an issue that we see already. It says it's negative 23. So obviously it's going to get to the below negative 25 for the chamber. And it's got to be talking about the outside chamber wall and not what is actually, not what actually is going on your trays like every other company. So haters, I know you guys are going to hate my video, whatever, you guys can keep doing that. But people need to understand we're trying to compare apples to apples, so freeze dryers to freeze dryers. And this company, as of right now, from what I'm gathering, is not on the same level of what they consider freeze drying at. They're trying to remake what the mTOR is for freeze drying, all that type of stuff. So that's just my initial freeze settings, right? We're down to negative 24, all that type of stuff. I will get ready to cancel this because it's meeting the standard that they have set for this. And I will show you guys how this goes, right? So it is negative 24. It's going to be negative 25 within their hour time zone. So we will cancel this because the only way to test the pump is by canceling it. And they only allow you to do a 10-minute pump try, which we will now click to test the pump. So the pump is connected, all that type of stuff. The pump, in my opinion, is pretty loud. You see the mTORs that it says here. So it's connected. The pump is on. I think the pump, personally, I'd have to check the readings and everything like that. I think the pump itself is higher than what is labeled, right? So hopefully you guys see the mTORs are slowly going down. Remember, like most of these machines, when you talk about mTORs going down, all that type of stuff, it's not very accurate until you get down to super low levels. And you're talking about like 2,500 or so, and then it becomes pretty accurate. I will give them that it has a decent roundabout here, but we'll see what this 10-minute test goes to, right? This is going to become a longer video than I want. I'm sorry I'm moving around a lot. I wasn't planning on originally doing this, so I didn't go get my camera thing to set this on and everything like that. So you see the numbers are dropping now pretty quick. So we're down to 78,000, 40,000, 9,000. So that being said, right, the test will attempt to bring the mTOR pressure to below 1,125 mTOR. Let me help you guys out. That is not a good mTOR. That is not like what we should be testing for freeze drying at all, right? So if you look at Stay Fresh, if you look at Harvest Right, if you look at other companies, the standard is below 500 in 30 minutes. However, because of the way this machine is set up, we cannot get it below 500 in 30 minutes most likely, because we'd have to redo tests over and over again. Their standard is 1125. As I've told you guys from the beginning, and a lot of haters wanted to hate, I'm not a fan of the standards that are put into the blue Alpine machine. There's obviously cleaning stuff that I have issues with that a lot of people maybe not agree with. This machine itself is labeled residential use only. I reached out to many companies. They do not agree with an 1800 M-Tour drying process. But as you see, if you actually have looked at the Stay Fresh videos I've done, the Harvest Right videos I've done, and everything like that, this machine is taking a super long time to even get below 2500 M-Tour. So if you guys pull up your Harvest Right machines, I will try doing this another test so I can actually show you guys. This pump should be pulling this below what we're currently seeing at 4 minutes. If you have a machine that doesn't have vacuum issues, all that type of stuff, right? So it could be the vacuum pump that they selected. It could be just the way the machine is designed. It could be a lot of different stuff, but definitely would have expected this to be below 2200 for sure by now. So I know everyone's like, oh, Donald, you're just bashing the company. You're bashing this. It's not about bashing the company at the end of the day, right? We're only moving like 1, 2 now at a time. We normally see this happen when we're at like, when it's moving like 1, 2. In fact, right now it's going up even. We normally see this type of stuff happen when we're at like below like 600 or so on typically machines doing this type of stuff. But as you see, the M-Tour is actually going up. We're not going down, unfortunately. So I'm not even positive we're gonna pass this test that was completed. No, that I don't even know. So obviously, I'm assuming we have a vacuum leak somewhere within this machine. That is a reason why we're seeing our M-Tours go up. We're gonna fail this test most likely. So they did provide me something that claimed that this machine passed this test. But I'm not seeing it. I will verify that these hoses are closed, all that type of stuff. You saw it got to 2200, but there has to be a leak somewhere within this machine. We will give it the rest of the 4 minutes, see if we can get at 1125. I'm gonna have to open this machine back up, try identifying where the leak is. Unfortunately, this machine is also very hard to do that because in other machines we can leave them plugged in but still have the back panel off and everything like that. This machine you can't. And in order to get to parts of like where it could be leaking is behind that back panel, not on the top of the machine like we see in other ones. So you guys are seeing these on your own. Like, this is super unfortunate. I know people are gonna bash me, whatever, but tests are tests. These are standard tests that I make with these machines. We always freeze down before we test vacuums. It froze down to what Blue Alpine had as a standard, right? I feel like I'm rambling on, but honestly, I just don't feel like staring at a screen either. But I want you guys to see the full test so you guys can see. As you guys can see, this is closed. This hose actually sucks down. So this is one of the things that I wasn't a fan of that we don't see with other companies. This hose is actually sucked in. I don't know if you guys can see it. This is what I've been talking about with these hoses. I'm in my garage, so obviously but it's not a circle hose. It's sucked down like we've seen other places. This hose, like, it's bendable. It's sucking. I don't know if you can see. It's actually sucking in. So not a high quality hose that we would expect. it can be bent, all that stuff, but it just sucks in. So, yeah, we're up to 727.59. I've heard some people say they have good luck with this machine, right? I'm not a fan of the hose that are provided. I'm not a fan of the build quality that I've seen inside the machine. I'm obviously not a fan of what I'm seeing on M-Tours. So I will reopen this machine, try figuring out how I can run this to find leaks that are possibly happening in the machine. But we see the hoses sucking in. We know there's a vacuum going on within the machine, but this hose is sucking in. Means there's a vacuum for sure. This hose is sucking in. There's a vacuum for sure. But where is this leak at that is showing up on these M-Tours? Definitely going to be failing the vacuum test on this blue Alpine machine. Yes, this is a custom color, as I told you guys. Did something get loose in shipping? I don't know. If the test continues to fail, contact Blue Alpine support. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to try figuring out why it's failing. I'm probably going to look for better hoses so that way those can be replaced. I believe some of that most likely has to deal with the way these hoses are connected, all that type of stuff. So as of right now, I know everyone's going to hate me once again. StayFresh.com is the current leader in getting these. Harvest Right, it says vacuum test failed, right? Harvest Right, even though we have to do fixes, we know the fixes that can be made with a Harvest Right machine to get those machines up and running. This machine, I have to take apart. I got to figure out why this test failed. I got to figure out what's going on in this machine. But when you look at settings and all that type of stuff, we can't even like do stuff. This is typical settings that are on this machine, right? Is I think it's actually 120 for dry time, but 1875 is a default set pressure. Like, I will never run this machine on 1875. I will always move it down to 500, and it's probably, I'm going to guess, never going to pass. But, and I'll probably do it at 525 because it doesn't go down lower than that. But for testing purposes, yes, for testing purposes, as we talked about, once I can actually pass a test, it will be a standard 125 degrees because that's what every other machine is operating at pretty much. It will be at 525 or whatever I just set it to. 525 is going to be the goal. My guess is we're not going to get there because their settings for everything is just so high on this machine. But I do have high hopes that maybe I can figure out how to get this machine to a super low mTOR so you guys can actually use this thing. So this is Donald from FixMyFD.com. This is a Blue Alpine machine, and it looks like FixMyFD.com is going to have to find some parts to possibly get this machine at a very high quality for you guys. So be standing by for us to figure out this machine. It's going to take some time. I have to pass this vacuum test before I can even test this machine on freeze drying food and everything like that. So I hope you guys take care. Hopefully this was some form of information that benefited you guys if you're looking at buying a machine. But this is my personal experience on running a vacuum test with this machine. I hope you guys take care. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you guys soon.